Hello and welcome to the Bucharest Stock Exchange presentations of the financial results for the first quarter of 2026. My name is Alexandru Ștefan and I am managing investor relations for the Bucharest Stock Exchange. Here with me we have also Mrs. Cristina Rădulescu, manager for finance controlling, and we will have a presentation for you that is prepared, and I will share it right now. Okay, so talking about the share of the Bucharest Stock Exchange, we have seen that from the beginning of the year, the share price is up 32%. It seems that we are recovering some of the performance over the last 5 years. And if you can look at the chart on the right, you can see the comparison with the main market index BET. So over the last 5 years, the performance of BVB share has been of more than 100%, while the main index has been of the 148%. With the financial results from this quarter, we are currently sitting with a price earnings ratio calculated on a trailing 12 months of 21, as well as a price to book of 2.8, also calculated on a trailing 12 months basis. In terms of our shareholding structure, it has been relatively stable. We have registered a slight increase in the number of shareholders compared to the previous quarters. We have also seen recently another shareholder that has crossed the 5% mark. This is BT Asset Management, and of course we are welcoming them to our shareholding structure. In terms of the trading activity in the first quarter, I would say we had a very good quarter. If we look at the turnover for equity-like instruments, so the first chart, the liquidity has been up 200% compared to the same period of the previous year. If we only look at main market shares, so only regular transactions, this is a similar performance. Liquidity has been up 180%. We have a slight decrease on the fixed income segments, although the fixed income segment is not as material as the equity segment in our financial statements. In terms of offers, although we had an IPO of an equity instrument, the total value of offers has been slightly down, and this has an effect from the fixed income instruments as well, namely the Fidelis government bonds. But we also registered an increase in the trading activity on the MTS that we are managing, the Aero market. Just to add some context for the first quarter of 2026, as I mentioned, trading activity accelerated sharply with nearly 14 billion RON total turnover. So this is up 40% year-over-year. Equity turnover has been up by almost 200%. In terms of number of trades, this has also stood out with almost 900,000 trades. This is up 81% year over year, signaling strong retail participation. Last quarter, we also had the IPO of Electro Alpha International. This is an entrepreneurial company. This has made records for the IPO market in terms of the oversubscription in the retail tranche, which has been of almost 60 times. The offer has been of 580 million RON. This is 115 million euros. It also has been a first in terms of closing early after only 5 days. And the final offer price has been at the top of the range. Also, we welcomed a new bond issue of UniCredit with a total value of 600 million RON. This has been only the listing of the UniCredit bonds. Also, in terms of bonds, if we discuss about government bonds, the Ministry of Finance continued the monthly issuance of Fidelis government bonds, attracting a total value of 4 billion RON, close to 800 million euros. Another very important aspect has been that the ETFs covering BVB indices crossed the 1.5 billion RON in assets under management for the first time ever. In terms of main index, we saw new all-time highs. So the BET index has continued with its momentum built last year, and it ended the quarter up by almost 14%, while the total market capitalization crossed the 115 billion mark for the first time ever. Also, we saw a very positive development in terms of the number of retail accounts, which has reached 306,000 at the end of the first quarter. This is up by 25% compared to the same period of the previous year. In terms of the second quarter and our expectations, we see that this is a robust start of the second quarter with market pushing higher in terms of main market indices as well as total market capitalization. The BET index, the main market index, broke through the 30,000 mark for the first time ever after a 23% rally from the beginning of the year. In terms of total average daily liquidity, this stands close to 220 million RON, so 43 million euros. This is daily average from the beginning of the year, and this is up 22% compared to full 2025 average daily trading value. We also welcomed the corporate bonds of Vista Bank, which they made their debut on the Bucharest Stock Exchange with a bond issue worth 17 million euros. Also, the Ministry of Finance continues the Fidelis government bonds issuances on a monthly basis. And I would say that there are also public statements regarding potential new IPOs to come, but this will very much depend on the market conditions, which are currently very good, as well as on IPO readiness of the respective issuers. One other highlight that I would like to mention is that following the extraordinary general shareholders meeting, which was held at the end of April 2026, the shareholders approved the distribution of a stock dividend amounting close to 8 million RON through the issuance of bonus shares. Just to sum up, this slide. So the first quarter has been very well in terms of liquidity. We are also encouraged by the momentum that the market has in terms of valuation, in terms of new investors attracted to the market, namely the retail accounts. We also had the IPO of Electro Alpha International, and we are seeing a continuation of this trend in the second quarter as far as the second quarter has gone. Now we will jump into the financial highlights, and I will give the floor to Cristina Rădulescu.
Thank you, Alex. Hello, everyone. As Alex already mentioned, we had a very strong quarters. This directly impacted the operating revenues. At the individual level, we had a significant increase in operating revenues, double compared with the quarter from the first quarter of the previous year. This was driven by a 170% increase in trading revenues, but also supported by the other business segments, market data and issuer fees. At consolidated level, the increase in operating revenues was of 70%, supported also by the post-trading segment, which followed the same trend with an increase of 56% year-on-year. Regarding operating expenses, this increase by 11% at both individual but also at consolidated level, mainly driven by higher personnel costs, mainly from a base effect started in 2025. Improved operational performance in the first quarter of 2026, a direct impact from the volumes traded, which were significantly higher compared with the Q1 2025, but also from the post-trading segment at consolidated level. Solid bottom line with a net profit of RON 7 million at both individual and consolidated level in the first 3 months of 2026. Here I would like to mention that at standalone level, we have a base effect from the Q1 2025 when we recorded an additional impairment loss for CCP participation.
Just a mention here, we were also joined by Remus Vulpescu, the CEO of the Bucharest Stock Exchange. We will continue with the financial aspects, and Remus Vulpescu will be available for questions at the end of the session.
Moving on a few details on the financial results at individual level. As I mentioned, as operating revenues increased significantly to RON 16 million. And this positive evolution was driven by an increase in trading revenues of almost RON 8 million compared with Q1 2025, supported by higher market liquidity, stronger investment activity and interest, impacts from the index rebalancing and increased public offer activity. The increase was supported by the 18% market data revenues, 80% higher market data revenues and 6% higher issuer fees. Operating expenses at individual level are in amount of RON 7.35 million in Q1 2026, up 11% year-on-year, and are mainly influenced by the increase in personnel expenses impact from the new hires made during 2025. Salary indexation starting April 2025 and share option plan estimates and performance bonuses in line with the operational performance. While in Q1 2025, due to the loss recorded, no such accruals were estimated. Operating profit reaches 8.6 million, over 7 times higher compared with Q1 2025, a direct impact from the evolution of trading revenue. Operating margin reaches 54%. Regarding financial result, this significantly improved, but as I mentioned, we have a base effect from the additional impairment recorded for CCP in Q1 2025 of 3.2 million. Also, I would like to mention that in Q1 2026, we had no additional indications or information that could trigger an increase in the impairment. It was already recorded and presented in the financial statements of 2025. Net profit at individual level reaches 7.5 million in Q1 2026. Regarding consolidated financial performance in Q1 2026, operating revenues have significantly increased to 28 million RON, 70% higher or almost 12 million RON. This favorable evolution was determined, of course, by the trading segment, but also by the 38% increase in revenues of post-trading and registry segments, which were directly influenced by the values traded at BVB and by the increase in capitalization of the listed companies at BVB. Consolidated operating revenues rose by 11% year-on-year, near to 20 million RON in Q1 2026. And as I mentioned, that is an impact from the higher personal cost, which were determined by the expansion of personal scheme necessary for CCP authorization, but also by the increasing operation needs at BVB. During 2005, there were some salary adjustment at group level in line with the remuneration policy. Consolidated operating profit reaches 8.2 million RON, compared with a loss of 1.3 million recorded in the previous period, significantly impacted by the traded values, which influenced the trading and the settlement revenues. Financial result is an amount of 1.2 million RON. And they are mainly represented by the interest income related to the financial investments made at group level. Net profit at group level reaches 7.2 million. Okay, moving on to the financial performance by segment. The trading segment represents the main segment from in terms of operating revenues at the group level, with a share of 56%, out of which trading revenues represent 78%. A significant increase due to developments in Q1 2026 by 10 percentage points compared with the previous quarter. Post-trading settlement segment represents 32% of group operating revenues and reaches RON 9 million in Q1 2026, 56% increase in year-on-year. Registry segment revenues is recording the RON 3.14 million in Q1 2026, and this represents an increase of 7% due to inflation indexation of tariffs, as well as increase in operation requested by the issuers. CCP is in the process of authorization and operationalization, with direct impact on the level of operating expenses being near to a maximal level according to the business plan. A few details on the operating expenses at the individual level. As I mentioned, the increase is of 11% compared with Q1 2025, mainly driven by the personnel expenses. The base effect from 2025 was mainly determined by the increase in the number of FTEs in order to cover the operational needs and regulatory requirements, annual indexation starting April 2025, and SOP and bonuses accruals, which were not reported in Q1 2025. Personal expenses represent 54% of BVB operating expenses. Regarding services provided by third parties, we recorded a 9% decrease, mainly due to some one-off services provided by Depozitarul Central in the previous periods, and lower accruals regarding business development projects and events. Other operating expenses remain at the same level compared with Q1 2025, but this represents a net of between increase in depreciation and amortization cost, compensated by the lower marketing and events expenses. At consolidated level, operating expenses recorded in Q1 2026 reach RON 20 million and are mainly represented by personal cost in 50% share, reaching RON 10 million. And the increase of 1 million reported compared with Q1 2025 is mainly due to the increase in employees in CCP and BVB, as I mentioned, in 2025, but also from the salary adjustments according to the remuneration policy. Third-party services at group level are in amount of 3.5 million, a slight decrease compared with the Q1 2025, and 61% of them represent clearing system management services and SWIFT services, recorded mainly by CCP, but also by Depozitarul Central, together with other services regarding audit and consultancy in line with the regulatory requirements. Other operating expenses at consolidated level are of 2.2 million, 8% increase, mainly influenced by the increase in depreciation and amortization cost, which represent 56% of operating revenues, other operating revenues. Regarding financial position, main highlights at individual level is represented by the share capital increase, which was recently finalized on 7th of May by its recording at Trade Register Office. But at the end of March was presented as it was in progress. It was presented as cash contribution from the shareholders at the level of liquidities in amount of 16 million RON, but also at the level of current liabilities. Following the approval of the Trade Register Office of the share capital increase of 5.5 million RON, the new share capital of BVB starting 7th of May is 93.99 million RON. At consolidated level, total assets have increased by 12% compared with the end of 2025, and the growth is driven mainly by the increase in liquidities from the government bond acquisition at the level of non-current assets, but also by the recording intangible assets of the clearing system, annual license and developments performed at the level of CCP. Current assets have increased 13% up to almost 200 million RON, determined by higher liquidities generated by the share capital increase recorded at the BVB, but also by the increasing in short-term investments in bank deposit. Total liabilities at group level have increased 43% compared with in 2025, up to 80.6 million. But the increase is driven by the shareholders' liabilities recorded at BVB, but also by the increase in variable contribution at the Depozitarul Central and the recording of deferred income related to issuers trading, maintaining fees and participating fees, which were charged for the whole year 2026. Regarding the stock dividend, which was recently approved at the end of April, we are already in progress with the process in order to increase the share capital and issue a new number of shares, which will be granted to the shareholders. Yes.
Okay, so yeah, I believe we have reached the conclusion of our presentation in terms of the overall market as well as the financial results. We would now give the floor for questions and answers, and we are happy to take any question. And
two things I would like to add. Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you, Christina. Thank you, Alex. We are actually thrilled and thankful for two aspects I would like to point out before the Q&As. One is the rally of our shareholders in support of the CCP project after some uncertainty mid-2024. we've seen a very strong and confirmed rally in supporting the Bucharest Stock Exchange as main shareholder of the central counterparty. So for 2024, our shareholders have waived their dividend, and for 2025, they have approved to be granted stock dividend, therefore constituting a liquidity reserve for the support of CCP by the Bucharest Stock Exchange for at least 1 year. And we are quite confident in the success of our authorization process, which is very advanced. And we hopefully will be able to announce something when we will present the second quarter 2026. And the other thing is the market dynamics in Romania after the very recent political developments has not diverged from regional market dynamics, which is for us a very, very good and strong indication that the market is actually seeing that Romania will keep its direction and its commitments international level. I will be glad to answer your questions together with Christina and Alex here. So please.
So we have one question, and I will try to read it out loud first. So the question is, can you please provide some color on the Moldova project? Thank you.
Moldova project is going well. As you know, the Bucharest Stock Exchange is a minority shareholder in the newly established Moldova International Stock Exchange, and we are also a technology provider. We've discussed this in our previous interaction. The software as a service contract was signed and the implementation has begun. We are on schedule currently with the implementation of the software as a service agreement, and the Moldova International Stock Exchange is on schedule currently with the authorization dossier that they are constituting. There's some recruitment, there's a lot of training, there's a lot of institutional interaction. It's a live and a lively project that we are having there. And it's quite satisfying so far, but we are going to wait and only make it a good news when it will be good news in terms of authorization granted by the National Commission for Financial Markets of the Republic of Moldova.
Thank you for the question. We are waiting for more questions. Okay, so we have another question. I will read it out loud. Can we expect a possible announcement in CCP.ro in the second quarter of 2026?
Well, the calendar of the authorization process is ending on July 2nd, 2026. So we should be able to announce something either on or before June 30. And hopefully it's not going to be on the 1st or 2nd of July. So my personal assessment at this moment is, yes, we will be able to announce something regarding CCP.ro during the second quarter 2026.
Just as a reminder, please know that you can share any question to us as a follow-up after the video conference, and we will be happy to answer them. With this being said, we would like to thank you again for participating in the video conference for the presentation of the financial results of the Bucharest Stock Exchange for the first quarter of 2026. And thank you, and see you at the next video conference.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice day.